Happy New Year. I'm Jeremy. Formerly of the Dunedin-based musical extravaganza Civil War Corpse, but now having determined that Civil War Corpse is perhaps not as socially/commercially accessible as I might otherwise have liked, I've now laid that to rest, and furthermore, I shall be performing and writing, etc., operating, if you will, under the new artistic moniker J. Remy. J. Remy, Jeremy, get it? See what I did there? Yep. Today I'm going to talk about how songs come to be, specifically a song called My Own Drum. Now, if you've been following the channel and you are absolutely right up to date, then hopefully you might have heard a version of My Own Drum that I posted on this channel a few days ago. It's not the final polished to perfection version that will ultimately, God willing, appear on the record that we, my musical compatriots, have been working towards for the past couple of years or so. But it's a very good representation of the song. There's even a few glitches in it, or at least one, as my bass player pointed out when he had to listen to it. He's like, "Oh, it sounds great, but there's this bit where the bass kind of drops out. It's really jarring." And I went, "Oh, that's right, that is there." So it's a way, the album's a way of getting mixed, and the song that has been that little bit has been fixed, or was fixed prior to the song being sent, the tracks being sent away to be mixed. But for better or worse, and it doesn't really matter, the version of the song that I had handy, that I uploaded to YouTube, it still had a couple of little bits that had not at that time been tweaked. So, as I say, it's not perfect, but it's a very decent representation of the song. So, without further ado, if you have listened to any of the other songs that are that I've put out in the last sort of 6-7 months, you will hopefully have heard a song called The Ballad of Frosty Jack and another song called All I Can Bleed. My Own Drum is written and played in the same tuning as those two songs. It's a very unusual tune. DGDGBC. I think on an earlier video like this, regarding one of those two songs, I explain where that tuning comes from. But it's one that I really love. So this song was written about 8 years ago. It wasn't the first song I wrote in this tuning, but it was definitely pretty early on. But it was the first. It was really through this song that I discovered, for want of a better word, or invented, stumbled upon a lot of the chord shapes that I use when I play in this tuning. I don't know what the names of any of these chords are, I have the faintest idea. And so I literally just had to fiddle around and find shapes that worked, and then say, "Oh, if I play this shape, I wonder if it sounds good next to this other shape. Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, well, but what about this one? And oh, that works." There was a lot of that. So I spent months writing this song. And basically where it began was this. I thought, far out, that sounds pretty awesome. Probably something in that. And so eventually what I ended up coming up with was this. And I thought, wow, that's freaking awesome. There's a song in that. There has to be a song in that. So I played around with that for a long time, or variations of that. eventually came up with what became the chorus. So that first part is the verse or verses. This is the chorus. That's the chorus, and then there's a little interlude that follows. And then, so there's a verse, chorus, chorus, and then there's a bridge. And so by the time I got that far, I was pretty stoked. I was like, okay, this is coming together. But it really felt at the time like the song wanted some sort of instrumental, which was pretty challenging for me because I had no idea what I was playing. As I say, I didn't know the names of the chords or anything. They're just these shapes that I'm like, oh, they sound good together. But I think if I'm remembering correctly, I sort of had this idea that the instrumental, to the extent that I could hear it, or at least the beginning of it in my head, that it should follow on sort of similarly to the bridge. But I found if I went back to the original chord, the first chord of the bridge, it didn't sound right. So I thought, well, what about the second one? And I went, yeah, cool, that actually sounds good. So and that was it. And it took, believe me, it took a lot of playing and fiddling and trying different shapes and stuff to eventually work that out. And of course, it's like anything, if you're trying to learn something that's very unfamiliar, the more of that unfamiliar territory that you have to operate in, within a constrained period of time, the more stressful and difficult it is to remember everything that you're learning, to the extent that you are learning it, because it's also unfamiliar. You got really limited, if any, points of reference. And so I vaguely remember, sort of coming up with different progressions and thinking, oh yeah, that could work. Oh crap, what did I just play? And so you go back and you go back and but yeah, in the end, I got it, and I was super stoked. And so after that, there's a verse and a couple of choruses. Lyrically, well, I mean, this whole song was an exercise in trying really hard to not try hard. But it was probably, in some ways, the beginning of, well, not the beginning, but I think it serves as a bit of a marker, maybe even a watershed sort of song in terms of my development as a songwriter, because it was relatively early on in, let's call it, stage 2 of my guitar playing. I'd taken a break for about 6 or 7 years where I'd barely picked up a guitar at all, hadn't written any songs. And so I was, I'd come back sort of, refreshed, renewed, and I was rediscovering the process of writing. And I think, this was definitely a song where it was really impressed upon me the value and importance of just keeping on playing and not trying too hard to write the song, and not being really precious about different chord combinations and stuff, but just giving myself and giving the song space to breathe, space to grow, and not sort of having a bit of an idea and thinking, oh, right, this needs to go like this, and then this needs to go like this, but just, so I don't know if you'd call it a sort of like a Zen-like process, but just, you've probably heard people or read people talk about, using the idea of the metaphor or analogy of a sculpture, and somebody says, oh, what a beautiful sculpture you've created, and the sculptor says, no, the sculpture was already there. All I did was chip away the unnecessary bits. And that's how I try to approach my songwriting, and certainly how I approached this, because I instinctively knew that I had to. I just had this overwhelming sense that there's a song there, and if you don't screw up the writing of it by trying too hard, you'll end up with something that you love. And so it was just playing, over and over again. And, just playing different variations of those chords, different combinations of the chords, and just trying to listen to where the song was, where I wanted to go, however you want to talk about it. And I'm so stoked with that song. I think I absolutely nailed it. Obviously, you might feel differently. You might listen to it and go, well, Jeremy, that's a giant pile of shite. Fair enough, you do you, I'll do me. But I love this song. I've always loved it. I love playing it. I had a really gratifying moment a couple of months back. There's an open mic night that I regularly go along to. I haven't been there for a month or so now, just because it's been Christmas and all that kind of thing. But at the Inch Bar in Dunedin, there's a lovely, lovely little scene there. It has to be a little scene because the bar is tiny. It's not just a clever name. It is an extremely small bar. But there's a really cool open mic open mic night there. A really neat, just group of people. And you get 15 minutes, which for me is like 2 songs. Other people manage to squeeze in 5. I get to do 2. And I was playing this and probably the Ballad of Frosty Jack. Or maybe it was All I Can Bleed. I can't remember. And I played this, and there was a guy sitting, like 1.5 meters away, because it's, as I say, it's very small. And right from the first couple of chords, I could see he was just going. And I was like, he gets it! I've always known how good this song is. Finally, someone else gets it. I was quite chuffed about that. Because I'd played it lots in the past, and people would say nice things like, "Oh yeah, it's nice," or just something generally, like they didn't find it offensive, inside I'd always think, "No, it's better than that. This is a great song. Why don't you understand? Why must you fail me? It's so often." So it was quite neat to look down at this guy and go, "He gets it." So yeah, that is my own drum. And as I say, I'm really stoked with what we've recorded, and and the rough, you could say, slightly imperfect version of it that I put up earlier this week. But I'm pretty excited to hear what my friend Aaron's going to do with it, because the songs that he's sent back to me so far, I was really happy with how they sounded before he got them, and he's just made them come alive. It's pretty cool. So, until next time, this is how songs come to be. Cheers.